Hello, everybody. This is Joseph P. Farrell with news and views on Thursday, February 13th, 2025. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Maybe. We'll get back to that story in just a bit. Right now, we've got a little housekeeping to do. Remember that tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. U.S. Central Time, we do have a vid chat scheduled. There is, as far as I know, no weather problems, so I will be in there a little early, as usual, to make sure everything is up and running for a little pre-chat chat, and then the chat regularly scheduled at 2 p.m. That means, don't forget, get your questions, comments in no later than 10 o'clock tonight, U.S. Central Time. Remember, one question or set of questions or comments per member. Don't make a multiple submission. Keep it to about a page length if you can. We've been getting kind of long-winded, and the problem with that, folks, is we're still on the new format. We're trying to keep ourselves pretty much under 3 hours per vid chat, but expanded the number of vid chats to 3 per month rather than 2. Anyway, I want to talk about a story today that a lot of you have sent me, and I am absolutely 100% sharing your concerns. If there were a title for today's news and views from the Nefarium, I would call it "In Praise of Pennies." And we're going to get back to my concerns here in just a minute. A lot of you sent me various versions of this story because most of you know that President Trump has ordered the United States Treasury to quit minting copper pennies. Now, we all know what pennies are. They're those irritating little brown coins that we dig around in our pockets for, or for you ladies, our purses for, when we're at the checkout line and the cashier tells us that we owe them $20.01. And everybody stands there, and the cashier doesn't want to make change for, two 20s and a lot of change, and on it goes. So Trump has ordered the United States Treasury to quit minting pennies. And I have a lot of concerns about this move and what it really is all about. So we're going to get back into that, but the article that there were a lot of you that sent the article that I'm using. Others of you sent different versions of this same story. I knew right off the bat when EO and EE and VT and TM and so many other people that usually send me, I can kind of predict the kind of articles that they send me, but when these particular people are all sending me the same story, since their interests are so different, I know that I have to talk about it. So that's why I'm talking about In Praise of Pennies today. Long story short, I do not think pennies should be ceased to be minted, nor do I think they should be taken out of circulation. The thing that happens when the mint decides to stop making a certain thing is people start hoarding it. So this is a convenient way to take something out of circulation, namely specie money, coins, okay? Historically, as people know who've read my book Babylon's Banksters, and for that matter, The Financial Vipers of Venice, there have been 3 types of circulating specie. Brown money, which of course is copper or bronze. Then you have white money, which of course is silver. And then you have yellow money, which is gold. So in terms of specie circulation, these have been classically the 3 different types of metal that have circulated. Now, over at Martin Armstrong Economics, there is an interesting article, a history of the penny in the United States. But rather than go into that, I want to read you a few paragraphs toward the end of this article to tell you by way of this historical background, what my concerns here really are. And by the way, Armstrong himself mentions some of these concerns in his article. My concerns are about how they are going to establish this as a precedent for getting rid of cash altogether. So listen carefully. This article is titled Ending Penny Production. It was posted by Martin Armstrong on February 11th, 2 days ago, 2025. And here we go. Quote, the coins, meaning the penny, the coin's composition changed over time. Bronze from 1909 to 1942. Zinc-coated steel, please note that one, folks, 1943, due to the World War II copper shortage. Then back to bronze, 1944 to 1982. In 1982, it switched to copper-coated zinc, still in use today despite rising production costs. Pennies have been more expensive to produce than face value since 2006. The United States Treasury stated that the penny cost 2.72 cents to produce as of 2023, but the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, reported last month that costs rose above 3 cents. The Mint spent $179 million to produce 4.5 billion pennies in fiscal year 2023, which would be above the 3-cent mark. For fiscal year 24, the U.S. Mint said it cost 3.7 cents to produce and distribute a penny, a 20% year-over-year increase. Quote, for far too long, the United States has minted pennies which virtually cost us more than 2 cents. This is so wasteful, Trump wrote over the weekend. Quote, I have instructed my Secretary of the U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies, unquote. Later adding, quote, let's rip the waste out of our great nation's budget, even if it's a penny at a time, unquote. Note the words there. He's establishing a principle, folks. Instead of altering the metal content, the decision is to eliminate the penny. Existing pennies will continue circulating, but we can expect people to begin hoarding. They eliminated the penny in Canada years ago, and consumers simply round to the nearest 5 cents. And what do you want to bet, folks, that they're going to do it rounding up rather than down? Speaking of 5 cents, the nickel is also far more costly to produce than its face value. Here you go, folks. The nickel's next in the crosshairs. So there's reason to believe this administration may consider the costs of minting coins in general. The government would not shock public confidence by discontinuing all U.S. coinage at once. I beg to differ. The penny, the lowest denomination of our physical currency, is the most digestible way to ease into the concept of no longer minting coins. Pennies will still be regarded as legal tender and can be used in transactions the same way the $2 bill can be exchanged, but the ultimate goal is to push us into a cashless society, unquote. One more paragraph here, folks. Trump signed an executive order titled Strengthening American Leadership in Digital Financial Technology, prohibiting the central bank from creating a central bank digital currency. The executive order also offers a framework for the U.S. government to begin regulating crypto, with David Sachs appointed as the artificial intelligence and crypto czar. Trump plans to boost U.S. holdings of Bitcoin. There's your sovereign wealth fund, folks, cryptocurrency, and would also like to boost the production of made in America bitcoins. Again, the government has always had backdoor access to Bitcoin. I have stated, this is Martin Armstrong, I have stated for some time that the Federal Reserve will not create a central bank digital currency, as that would violate the Fourth Amendment. Instead, individual banks will be encouraged to create their own currencies. We're back to banknotes, only this time they're going to be crypto, folks, which can then be tracked, traced, and reported to the government, unquote. Now, permit me to say for the record, I'm wholly in agreement with Mr. Armstrong that this is a step toward eliminating not only coinage, but circulating money, period. I want people to note that there is always a cost in minting money, and it even has a technical term, and that term is called seigniorage. Okay, this has been known since the very earliest days of banking. And if you read the history of minting coins, and then of course later money, paper money, banks have used seigniorage in order to manipulate currency. And that's what's happening here. They're establishing the precedent that on the basis of the cost of producing physical media of exchange, it is no longer efficient to mint money. And at a certain point, they could argue, once they've established this principle, well, pennies are too expensive. Well, now the nickel's in sight, then the dime, then the quarter, and pretty soon you're going to discover that you're without any sort of constitutional money, that is to say, specie money at all. And once they get that done, then they can say, well, it costs too much money to run those printing presses and those paper cutters at the U.S. Department and Bureau of Engraving and Printing that prints up the money. So we might as well eliminate that. And folks, I've been to the Bureau of Engraving and Printing when I was a boy. I've seen the operation in person. And it is massive, massive pallets of paper money that lots of people are running around the room, either running the presses or taking the money to these big, gigantic paper cutting machines and cutting the paper. So there is a cost. There is the materials costs, there's the production costs, the labor costs, the overhead for the building that does all of this. And that too could be all conveniently eliminated in the name of government efficiency. So my problem here is that Mr. Trump is sneaking one by us, because once you've established the principle, then why have money at all? And that's the problem. So no, Mr. Trump, if you really want to bring back jobs, notice in the little history lesson that Mr. Armstrong gave you, he told you about the time when pennies were made out of steel. I was a boy and I used to have a coin collection. And I remember collecting pennies, and I had some of those World War II, 1942-43, World War II steel pennies in my collection. They were quite literally made out of steel. Which, of course, if you're going to make it out of steel, would reduce the costs, wouldn't it? And, by the way, it would bring some jobs back to this country in the steel industry. So, Mr. Trump, you missed the boat here. You could have saved the penny, put people to work, and also subsidized our American steel industry. And my question is, why didn't you? So that's it for today's news and views. Watch the penny, folks, and my advice is call your congressman, write your governor, write your senators, call your senators, and tell them, no, we are going to keep the penny in production. We need to explore other ways of minting it that will reduce costs. And by the way, since we're talking about reducing costs, reduce the inflation. And that's the other suspicion I have about this whole move. Maybe it's also a way to trick people into accepting a dramatic shrinkage of the money supply in order to save the minting of specie and paper money. So watch these people very carefully, and when they make moves like this, folks, let them know you're not happy and you won't be voting for them in the future. Don't forget, we have the vid chat tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. in the afternoon U.S. Central Time. I'll be there a little early to make sure everything's up and running. That means get your comments, questions in no later than 10 o'clock U.S. Central Time tonight. We'll see everybody on the flip side. Bye-bye, and God bless.